I used to think stories like mine only happened in movies, the kind where love sweeps you off your feet, and everything clicks into place like a well-written script. That's how it felt when I met Melissa. It was a sun-drenched Saturday in June, one of those long, lazy afternoons where the world moves slower and everyone seems to glow a little under the summer haze. My best friend had invited me to a cookout, nothing special, just burgers, beer, and a few friends from college. I wasn't planning to stay long. And then she walked in. Melissa. She had this effortless presence, like she belonged in every room she stepped into. Her laugh cut through the hum of small talk like sunlight through clouds. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, she just was. Hair pulled up messily, bare feet in the grass, holding a cup in one hand and wildly gesturing with the other as she told a story about locking herself in a bathroom on a first date in high school. Everyone was laughing. I was mesmerized. By the end of the night, we were talking like we'd known each other for years. We lost track of time. Hours passed like minutes. And when she smiled at me, really smiled, I felt something shift. Something real. After that night, we were inseparable. It was like we'd both been waiting to find each other without even knowing it. Our connection wasn't just chemistry, it was like gravity. We moved in together within a year. There were no second guesses, no red flags, no hesitation. Every morning started with her head on my chest. Every night ended with whispered plans for our future. When I proposed to her 2 years later, it wasn't just a romantic gesture, it was a certainty. I had never been more sure of anything in my life. It was at the beach where we'd taken our first trip together. I set up lanterns, music, and a little trail of notes leading to me on one knee. She burst into tears before I could even finish my sentence. She said yes. Over and over again. She kissed me and said I was everything she'd ever dreamed of. That she couldn't wait to be my wife. That she was the lucky one. We dove into wedding planning like we were building a kingdom. Everything had to be perfect. Melissa was excited, borderline obsessed, in the best way. The venue was a vineyard just outside the city. Rustic, romantic, surrounded by hills and wildflowers. We'd watched the sun set there once and knew it was the spot. Melissa insisted we needed a professional planner. That's how Trevor came into our lives. He was sharp, confident, the kind of guy who knew how to get things done. Melissa said he came highly recommended by a friend from her yoga studio. I didn't think much of it. I trusted her. She was expressive, bubbly, always had been. I figured if she seemed overly friendly with Trevor, it was just her being herself. I didn't want to be the jealous guy. Still, I noticed things. A few glances that lingered too long. A couple of private conversations in corners that quieted when I walked in. But I told myself not to be paranoid. You're marrying her, I thought. She loves you. She chose you. And besides, everything else seemed perfect. We were deep in cake tastings, guest lists, fittings, vow writing, flower decisions. Melissa would text me in the middle of the day saying how lucky she felt. How she couldn't wait to call herself Mrs. Caldwell. She started practicing her new signature on napkins and receipts, just for fun. I was all in. Every dollar. Every dream. Every beat of my heart. And I never, not even for a second, imagined that the woman I was about to marry would betray me in the cruelest way possible. Looking back, the signs were there, quiet, almost invisible, like cracks beneath fresh paint. But at the time, I brushed them off as stress. After all, planning a wedding is chaos even under the best conditions. That's what I told myself. That's how I let it fester. It started small. Subtle shifts. Melissa began spending more time at planning meetings than she used to. Sometimes she'd come home late, claiming she and Trevor had to do a last-minute site visit or meet with the florist across town. I'd ask how it went, and she'd wave me off, already halfway through a glass of wine. Don't worry, she'd say. Everything's under control. At first, I believed her. She was always passionate about details. She wanted the big day to be flawless, for the photos, for the guests, for us. That's what I thought all the running around was for. But then there were the texts. One night, we were watching a movie, curled up on the couch like we always did. Her phone lit up, and I happened to glance over. It was a message from Trevor. I wasn't trying to snoop. It just caught my eye. Tonight was fun. You looked incredible in that dress, winking face. My stomach twisted. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at her as she smiled at the screen and subtly tilted the phone away. It could have been nothing. Could have been an inside joke. I wanted so badly to believe that. But something about the way she blushed, the way she didn't offer to explain, it stuck with me. The next day, I casually asked, "How was the meeting yesterday?" She barely looked up from her cereal. "Fine." We picked out table linens and finalized the lighting setup. I wanted to ask about the dress, about why Trevor was texting her late at night like that. But I didn't, because deep down, I was scared of the answer. The doubt settled in my chest like smoke. Hard to breathe, hard to see clearly, but always there. I started noticing other things. She'd take her phone with her everywhere now, even into the bathroom. She changed her lock screen. She got defensive when I reached for her phone to check the weather, like I was trying to crack a vault. And Trevor? He kept popping up. He'd text at weird hours. She'd laugh at something on her phone and say, "Oh, it's just Trevor being Trevor." Like he was harmless. Like it was all part of the job. But I wasn't stupid. I could feel it. Something was happening. Something I couldn't yet name, but that was slowly hollowing out everything we had built. Still, I kept holding on. Because love, real love, makes you hope. Even when the truth is whispering in your ear, begging you to listen. It was supposed to be a normal Saturday. Just 3 weeks before the wedding, we had an appointment to finalize details with the venue, a final walkthrough with Melissa, Trevor, and me. I showed up 15 minutes early, flowers in hand. I don't even know why. Maybe I was trying to reignite something. Maybe I wanted to remind her that this was about us, not color palettes and menus. But she wasn't there. The receptionist said Melissa and Trevor had arrived earlier, that they were in the private suite going over the staging layout. She pointed toward the back hallway. I hesitated. Something in me already knew. I walked down that hallway, past the empty banquet room, past the racks of tablecloths and glassware. I remember the smell of lavender and dust. I remember the way the carpet muffled my steps. I remember the quiet, like the air itself was bracing for impact. The door to the bridal suite was cracked open. I heard her laugh first, low, breathy, the kind of laugh that didn't belong to a fiancée finalizing her wedding. Then came a voice I recognized instantly. Trevor. I stopped. I didn't want to believe what I was hearing. But curiosity, pain, instinct, they pushed me forward. I inched the door open just enough. And there they were. Melissa sitting on the vanity counter, her legs wrapped around Trevor's waist, his hands tangled in her hair, their lips pressed together like this was a secret they had kissed 1,000 times before. Everything inside me froze. The flowers dropped from my hand before I even realized it. They hit the ground with a soft thud, louder than it should have been. That's when they looked up. Melissa gasped. Trevor backed away, stumbling. Her lipstick was smeared. Her dress was wrinkled. The look on her face was pure panic, not regret, not shame, fear. Jason, she started, sliding off the counter like she could somehow erase what I'd just seen. I didn't wait to hear what excuse she'd make. There was nothing left to say. Nothing that could undo the image now scorched into my mind. I turned around and walked away. Out the hallway, past the stunned receptionist, into my car. I sat in silence for a long time, gripping the steering wheel, heart pounding, trying to breathe. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was betrayal, raw, physical, undeniable. The woman I was about to marry had been sleeping with our wedding planner. And I had just watched the fairy tale I believed in burn to ash right in front of my eyes. I didn't cry. Not then. I sat in the car for over an hour, staring through the windshield, trying to process what had just happened. I was shaking not from sadness, not even from anger, but from the sheer disbelief that this was how it ended. All that planning. All those promises. Every whispered, "I can't wait to be your wife." It was all a lie. When I finally drove home, I wasn't even thinking about what to say. The words just spilled out of me the second she walked in the door later that night, wearing the same wrinkled dress, eyes already red, face pale like she'd seen a ghost. "You need to leave," I said, voice cold. "Tonight." Her jaw dropped. "Jason, please. Don't insult me with excuses." I saw everything. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. That simple motion felt like reclaiming something, my space, my dignity, myself. "I'm not marrying you," I continued. "There is no wedding. There's no fixing this. You blew it." "But it didn't mean anything," she cried. "It was a mistake." I laughed. It was bitter, hollow, and involuntary. A mistake is forgetting to sign a check. A mistake is ordering the wrong wine for dinner. What you did, that was a choice. Over and over again. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing into her hands. I didn't feel pitied. Not anymore. I started pulling out boxes from the closet and tossing her things into them. She begged. She apologized. She swore it would never happen again. That it was just stress. That she got confused. That it was just once. I knew better. There's a look people have when they know they've ruined something they can't ever get back. And Melissa wore that look like a scar. By midnight, she was gone. And for the first time in what felt like years, my apartment was quiet. The next day, I made it official. I called the venue. I called the vendors. I sent a message to all our guests. The wedding has been called off. I appreciate your support, but please respect my space during this time. The responses came flooding in: confusion, support, a few nosy relatives fishing for details. But I didn't know anyone the story. This was my heartbreak, my line in the sand. In the days that followed, I donated her dress. I took the rings back. I canceled the honeymoon date. And then, I did something harder. I let go of the future I thought we'd have. Because sometimes the hardest part of betrayal isn't losing the person. It's losing the dream. Weeks passed. Then months. At first, the silence felt brutal, like coming off a drug dot. I had spent years wrapped up in Melissa's world, her dreams, her love, or what I thought was love. Now I was relearning how to live without her. How to breathe without suspicion. How to exist without second-guessing myself every time she looked at her phone. But with every passing day, the pain dulled. And something else took its place. Clarity. I started going back to the gym. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in months, maybe even years. I started waking up without that knot in my stomach. I even booked a solo trip to Italy, just because I could. Then came the messages. First, it was just one. I miss you. Please talk to me. Then more followed. Emails. DMs. A voicemail where she was crying, begging for just one more conversation. She said she made a mistake. That she didn't realize what she had until it was gone. That Trevor meant nothing. That she was lonely, scared, overwhelmed. All the classic excuses. But she never said the one thing I was waiting for. I betrayed you. And I take full responsibility. Because deep down, I knew she didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself that I reflected back to her. She missed being adored, being trusted. She missed the man who would have moved mountains for her. But that man, he doesn't exist anymore. I never responded. What would be the point? Closure didn't come from her apology. It came the moment I realized I didn't need one. I was finally freed. Free from the performance, the pretense, the fake smiles. Free to live life on my own terms. Whole, honest, and unafraid. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. But I'll never let her back into my life. Because the truth is, some betrayals are lessons. And mine taught me the most important one of all. Never settle for someone who treats your loyalty like a weakness. She wanted me back. But I moved on. And I've never looked back.